Once in a distant kingdom, there was a young woman named Amina. Known for her stunning beauty and immense wealth inherited from her mother, Amina lived in an impressive mansion surrounded by luxurious clothes and dazzling jewels. Despite her vast fortune, Amina had a cold heart and only associated with those who shared her level of wealth. She didn't bother to smile at the less fortunate and preferred to keep herself apart from them. One day, her aunt suggested Amina start thinking about marriage. However, Amina had very high expectations. She wanted a man richer than her, extremely kind, and who had never been married. The people of the kingdom whispered about who this ideal man could be, as no one seemed to meet those requirements. Amina waited and waited, dreaming of the perfect man. She believed she would find him somewhere. Meanwhile, she enjoyed her riches, her grand mansion, and her shiny possessions, not ready to share them with anyone. One afternoon, Amina met Kwame. Kwame came from a nearby kingdom and, like Amina, was very wealthy thanks to his family. Amina was drawn to him because he too was rich, and Kwame fell in love with her. They decided to marry and live together. At first, everything was sweet and happy. They laughed, ate delicious meals, and lived in a comfortable big house. However, over time, things began to change. Amina wanted to make all the decisions and be the boss. When Kwame suggested something, she would reply, "No, we'll do it my way." She believed that being richer and a little older, she should be in charge. One day, Kwame had to go on a trip and asked Amina to stay home until his return. But Amina didn't listen. She went out to have fun with her friends and traveled far away without telling him. When Kwame returned, he found the house empty and silent. The maid told him that Amina had gone out to have fun with her friends. Kwame waited 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and finally Amina returned. Kwame was very upset and asked her, "Where have you been?" Amina didn't like being asked such questions and replied, "Why do you want to know? I can go wherever I want." They argued at length, and Kwame told her she should respect him because he was the head of the household. But Amina disagreed and, angry, packed her bags and returned to her kingdom, leaving Kwame and his house behind. Back in her grand house, Amina thought about what had happened. The people of the kingdom whispered about Amina and Kwame, wondering what would happen next. Amina's aunt was also sad and told her, "No marriage is perfect, Amina." But Amina didn't want to listen. She believed she would simply find another man, a better one this time. After leaving Kwame, Amina met Jabari. Jabari wasn't as rich as Kwame, but he had a big heart and was the kindest man in the kingdom. Amina thought that was something she had always wanted. So Amina and Jabari decided to marry. Since Jabari wasn't as rich, he had to move into Amina's grand house. He did everything to make her happy, cooked delicious meals, cleaned the house until it shone, and even gave her foot massages after her long days. Jabari sometimes bought nice clothes for Amina with the little money he had and always said, "I just want to see you smile, Amina." For a while, Amina was happy. She liked being in control, and Jabari made sure she was comfortable and happy. But soon, Amina started to feel something was missing. She realized Jabari didn't bring money into the house. He spent his days making sure she was happy, but the grand house and shiny things needed money to sustain. Amina thought Jabari was kind and very caring, but too lazy to contribute significantly to the family. One night, Amina talked to Jabari and said, "You're very kind, Jabari, but kindness doesn't fill our pots with food or keep this house." Jabari felt sad. He wanted to make Amina happy, but he didn't know how to do it without money. Amina's aunt talked to her and said, "You have to choose. Do you want Jabari's kindness or someone who brings money into the house? A man who has so much time to take care of you day and night will hardly have time to work, dear." Amina reflected a lot and finally decided she needed more than kindness. She told Jabari he had to leave because he wasn't the husband she needed. Jabari, very sad, packed his bags and left. Amina was alone again with everything she had always wanted in her grand house, but she wasn't happy. She missed Jabari's kindness, but not enough to want him back. The villagers whispered, "Amina has kicked out another husband. What will she do now?" After Jabari left, Amina felt a bit lonely. But then she met Amari. Amari was like a dream. Everything she had always wanted in a man. He was handsome, very rich, kind, and never been married. Amina thought Amari was just perfect. So Amina and Amari married, and it seemed she had finally found her ideal partner. Amari bought her beautiful things, took her to fun places, and always made sure she smiled. They danced, laughed, and their house was filled with joy. Amina felt very lucky. But over time, things changed again. Although Amari was kind, Amina sometimes forgot to be kind in return. She never said please or thank you. She didn't cook or clean, thinking Amari would take care of everything. Amari had friends and family who came to visit him, but Amina didn't welcome them warmly. She simply said hello without smiling. Amari's family was very important to him, especially his parents, but Amina never visited them or helped. She thought, why should I? They can take care of themselves. Amari's parents noticed this and told him, a wife should be kind and respectful, not only to her husband but also to his family. They were upset and told Amari that Amina wasn't suitable for their family. Amari was sad, but he knew his family was right. He loved Amina, but he also knew that respect and kindness were important. So Amari talked to Amina and said, we can't be together if you don't respect my family and me. Amina was surprised. She didn't expect it. But Amari had made his decision. Amina packed her bags and returned to her kingdom, alone once again. Back in her kingdom, Amina thought about Amari. She had everything she wanted, but she still wasn't happy. She began to question herself. Maybe it's not just about finding the perfect husband. Maybe I should also be a better wife. But it was too late to go back to Amari. When Amina returned to her kingdom after leaving Amari, she had a big surprise. A flood had swept through much of the kingdom, including the farms that generated Amina's wealth. Suddenly, Amina didn't have all her money. Her grand house didn't seem so grand when there was no food or money to spend. Amina and her aunt had to leave their grand house and move to a small hut, much smaller than anywhere Amina had lived before. At first, Amina felt very sad. She missed her soft bed, her shiny possessions, and her beautiful clothes. Now, she wore simple clothes and helped her aunt cook with what little they found. Living in the small hut, Amina began to reflect a lot. She remembered Kwame, Jabari, and Amari and how she had treated them. I had 3 good husbands, she said to herself, but I wasn't a good wife. I wanted to be the boss with Kwame. I didn't appreciate Jabari's kindness, and I didn't respect Amari or his family. Amina realized that she had been searching for the perfect husband without thinking about what it meant to be a good wife. I wasn't kind, Amina realized. I didn't share or help. I only thought about what I wanted. In the small hut, Amina learned to live differently. She talked to her neighbors, whom she had ignored when she was rich. They were kind to her, shared their food and stories. Amina also started helping others. She shared everything she and her aunt had. Amina's heart began to change. In the small hut, she learned to say please and thank you. She learned to listen and not always want to be the boss. She discovered that being rich in money wasn't the same as being rich in heart. One day, Amina said to her aunt, I was wrong. It wasn't my husband's fault, it was mine. I forgot to be kind and respectful. Her aunt hugged her, happy to see that Amina had understood. Living simply, Amina learned a great lesson. She discovered that being happy doesn't require a lot of money or being in charge. Happiness comes from kindness, sharing, and respect for others. Amina was ready to be not only rich, but also a good person. As she began to live her new, simpler life, she met someone unexpected. His name was Goma. He was very different from the men Amina had known before. He wasn't rich and had been married once. He didn't meet any of the requirements Amina was looking for in a husband, but there was something special about him. He was kind, laughed a lot, and cared about Amina like no one before. Amina and Goma became friends. They talked, helped each other, and laughed together. Amina loved how Goma made her feel. She didn't care about being rich or in charge with Goma. She was just Amina. One day, Goma asked Amina to marry him. Amina thought about it. Goma didn't have much money and wasn't what she had always said she wanted. But Amina realized it wasn't those things that made her happy. Being cared for, sharing laughs, and helping each other was what made her happy. So Amina said yes to Goma. They married and started their life together in the small hut. It was a happy life, simpler than Amina's previous life, but richer in many ways. Goma and Amina didn't have much, but they had each other. They shared everything they had and worked together to make their small house a place filled with love and laughter. Amina was faithful to Goma. She didn't look for someone richer or more powerful. She learned to appreciate what she had. Goma and Amina respected each other. They listened when the others spoke and helped without needing to be asked. Their neighbors saw how happy Amina and Goma were. They saw how much Amina had changed. She was kinder, smiled more, and helped others. Amina had learned that happiness doesn't come from having more money or being in charge. Happiness comes from sharing life with someone who cares about you, from being kind and content with what you have. Amina and Goma's marriage didn't resemble stories of wealth and palaces. It was a story of true happiness found in a small hut, with simple clothes and food, but filled with love. Amina finally found what she was looking for, not in wealth or power, but in a heart that matched hers. On a quiet night, Amina sat in front of her small hut, looking at the stars. She thought about her long journey, from when she lived in a big house with many shiny things to now, living simply with Goma. Her heart was full. Amina remembered how she used to think that having a rich, kind, and unmarried husband would make her happy. She married Kwame, Jabari, and Amari, seeking happiness in what they could give her or how they made her feel. But something was always missing. Only when everything changed, until she lost her wealth and lived a simpler life, did Amina find true happiness with Goma. Amina learned that happiness isn't about being rich or in charge. Happiness is about sharing, understanding, and love. She learned that no marriage is perfect. Every relationship has its challenges, but it's how they face them together that matters. It's about understanding each other, making compromises, and being there for each other. Amina realized her mistakes. She saw that she was looking for perfection in her husband without being willing to give the same in return. She understood that a happy marriage isn't about finding someone who meets all your criteria, but about building a life together where both feel valued and loved. As she looked at the stars, Amina felt grateful for her journey. It had taught her the true meaning of love and happiness. She was thankful to Goma for his love and for the life they shared together. The moral of Amina's story is clear. No marriage is perfect, and what makes a perfect marriage isn't finding the perfect person, but finding someone you can grow with, understand, and make compromises to build a loving and strong relationship. Happiness doesn't come from seeking perfection in others, but from appreciating what you have and the love and understanding you share. Amina's story reminds us that the key to a happy life and a happy marriage doesn't lie in wealth or your partner's status, but in the respect, love, and kindness you show each other.